Everyone is talking, arguing, proving themselves. But the smartest people, they're silent. They watch, they learn, they wait. And when they act, the world finally sees their power. Mastering the power of observation before speaking is not merely a skill, it is a strategic approach to life that separates the reactive from the proactive, the shallow from the profound, and the impulsive from the calculated. When most people rush to respond, they operate on instinct, habit, or emotion. They react to what they see and hear, often missing the underlying currents that shape situations, relationships, and opportunities. Observation, on the other hand, allows you to step back, to see beyond the surface, to understand the nuances that others overlook. It begins with the simple act of paying attention. Not just hearing words, but listening to the tone, the rhythm, the subtle shifts in behavior that reveal hidden motives and intentions. Every interaction becomes a field of data, every conversation a source of insight. You start to notice patterns in people's behavior, recurring themes in decisions, and the subtle cues that indicate how someone is truly thinking or feeling, even when their words say something entirely different. Observation is not passive. It is active engagement with your environment, an intentional focus on understanding before responding. It requires patience, the ability to withhold judgment, and the discipline to let situations unfold without interference. By observing first, you gather information that gives you clarity. Clarity allows you to act with precision rather than haste. You learn to distinguish between what is important and what is trivial, between signals that matter and noise that distracts. In social settings, observation becomes a way to read power dynamics, to understand alliances, and to anticipate reactions. In professional settings, it allows you to identify opportunities that others overlook, to recognize weaknesses that you can address strategically, and to navigate challenges with foresight rather than frustration. Observation transforms you into a silent strategist, someone whose influence is rooted not in volume or visibility, but in insight and understanding. The practice of observation also cultivates emotional intelligence. By watching and listening carefully, you learn to empathize without projecting your own assumptions, to sense tensions before they escalate, and to gauge the emotional state of those around you. You become attuned to nonverbal cues. The flicker of an eye, a shift in posture, the subtle inflection in a voice that convey more truth than words alone. This awareness allows you to respond appropriately, not reactively, and to build relationships based on genuine understanding rather than superficial impressions. Over time, observation sharpens your intuition. You begin to anticipate outcomes, to see the ripple effects of actions before they happen, and to make decisions that align with long-term goals rather than short-term impulses. Observation before speaking is also a safeguard against conflict and misunderstanding. Many arguments arise not from differences in fact, but from misinterpretation, assumptions, and hasty responses. By taking the time to observe and process information before speaking, you reduce the risk of saying something you will later regret. You gain the ability to choose your words deliberately, to frame your statements with precision, and to convey ideas in a way that is both impactful and measured. Silence in these moments is not absence. It is strategic space for reflection, analysis, and preparation. It allows you to weigh the potential consequences of your words, to consider the perspectives of others, and to craft responses that serve your objectives rather than undermine them. Observation also fosters self-awareness. By watching how others behave and how situations unfold, you gain insight into your own tendencies, biases, and reactions. You begin to recognize moments when you are tempted to act impulsively, when pride or ego might cloud judgment, or when emotions threaten to dictate decisions. This self-awareness becomes a foundation for self-control, enabling you to navigate complex situations with composure and confidence. The more you observe, the more you understand not only others but yourself, creating a feedback loop of continuous growth and refinement. In strategic terms, observation is a form of intelligence gathering. It is the first step in planning any course of action, whether in personal relationships, professional endeavors, or competitive environments. By collecting information silently and attentively, you equip yourself with the tools to make informed choices, to exploit opportunities, and to avoid pitfalls. You learn to recognize patterns of behavior that signal success or failure, to identify strengths that can be leveraged, and to detect weaknesses that must be managed. This level of insight is rarely achieved through impulsive speech or superficial engagement. It is cultivated through deliberate observation, careful attention to detail, and the patience to wait for the right moment to act. Observation also enhances creativity and problem solving. When you take the time to see and understand the full context of a situation, you open yourself to solutions that are not immediately obvious. You connect disparate pieces of information, recognize underlying structures, and anticipate challenges before they manifest. By observing first, you create a mental map of possibilities, a framework within which innovative strategies can emerge. Silence in this context is not emptiness, it is the incubation space for ideas, the mental laboratory where insights are refined and tested before they are revealed to the world. Moreover, observation before speaking cultivates respect and influence. People notice when someone listens attentively, when responses are thoughtful rather than reactive, and when words carry weight, because they are informed by careful consideration. Silence becomes a tool for commanding attention, for demonstrating confidence, and for establishing authority without arrogance. Others are drawn to those who understand more than they reveal, who act decisively yet quietly, and who allow results to speak louder than words. In essence, observation transforms you into a silent leader, someone whose power lies in insight, discernment, and strategic action rather than in volume or visibility. The ability to observe before speaking is also a long-term investment. It requires discipline and restraint, but the returns are profound. Over time, you develop a reputation for wisdom, discernment, and effectiveness. You gain the ability to navigate complex social and professional landscapes with subtlety and skill. You create opportunities where others see obstacles, build alliances where others see competition, and achieve outcomes that others only aspire to. Observation becomes not just a habit, but a mindset, a lens through which every interaction, challenge, and decision is filtered. Ultimately, mastering the power of observation before speaking is about control. Control over information, control over perception, and control over outcomes. It allows you to operate from a position of strength rather than reaction, to act with intention rather than impulse, and to influence events in ways that are subtle, strategic, and enduring. By observing first, you cultivate insight, empathy, clarity, and foresight. You develop the ability to anticipate, adapt, and execute with precision. You transform silence from mere absence of sound into a deliberate, potent instrument of power and intelligence. Let your actions reveal your intelligence, not your words. Intelligence is often misunderstood as the ability to speak eloquently, to persuade, or to dominate conversations. Society celebrates those who are vocal, who can command attention, who can debate fiercely. Yet true intelligence is seldom displayed through noise. It is demonstrated through actions, decisions, and results. Words are fleeting. They can be misinterpreted, forgotten, or dismissed. Actions, however, leave a tangible mark. They produce outcomes, inspire trust, and create undeniable proof of capability. When you rely on your actions rather than your words, you communicate confidence, competence, and clarity without needing validation from others. It is in the execution of thoughtful strategies, in the quiet competence of daily habits, and in the consistent demonstration of skill that intelligence becomes visible to those who are paying attention. Actions carry weight because they are verifiable, Anyone can claim knowledge, skill, or insight, but when results manifest, there is no argument, only evidence. The person who consistently produces meaningful results earns respect not through boasting, but through proof. This principle applies in all spheres of life. In personal relationships, a person who consistently shows care, reliability, and thoughtfulness communicates their character more powerfully than any declaration of loyalty or affection. In professional contexts, delivering on promises, completing projects with excellence, and solving problems efficiently speaks volumes more than a self-congratulatory speech or constant assertions of expertise. By letting action speak, you cultivate credibility, authenticity, and influence because people trust what they see more than what they hear. Relying on actions also fosters humility and restraint. When you focus on doing rather than talking, you avoid the pitfalls of arrogance and empty promises. Speaking prematurely can lead to misunderstandings, unmet expectations, or exposure of weaknesses. By contrast, acting strategically ensures that your contributions are grounded in substance rather than image. It allows you to measure impact, refine methods, and demonstrate mastery without the need for constant validation. This approach transforms silence into a form of power where restraint signals awareness, patience, and confidence. People are naturally drawn to those whose competence is evident through consistent achievement rather than through proclamations of ability. The philosophy of letting actions reveal intelligence also encourages long-term thinking. Words can persuade in the short term, but actions build lasting legacies. Consider leaders, innovators, and visionaries throughout history. Their influence was measured not by speeches alone, but by the tangible results they produced. Actions become a testament to vision, foresight, and dedication. When you prioritize execution over explanation, you align your efforts with measurable impact, ensuring that your intelligence is recognized through outcomes rather than through rhetoric. Over time, this creates a pattern of trust and reliability as others learn to associate your presence with meaningful results. Actions also enhance influence in subtle and profound ways. Words can provoke, persuade, or inspire temporarily, but actions shape perception and behavior over the long term. A quiet, consistent demonstration of skill, insight, and competence creates respect and admiration without the need for self-promotion. People begin to recognize patterns. They see problem-solving abilities, emotional intelligence, and strategic thinking in practice, and they internalize the lessons demonstrated through your behavior. Influence built through actions is more resilient because it is based on observed reality rather than claimed authority. In essence, your reputation becomes inseparable from the consistent manifestation of your intelligence in the real world. Letting actions reveal intelligence also requires discipline and self-control. It is tempting to speak up, to assert ideas, or to seek recognition for accomplishments. Yet choosing to act first and let results speak demands patience and confidence in your abilities. It is about understanding that true impact is measured by outcomes, not by commentary, applause, or immediate acknowledgement. Each deliberate action becomes a statement, a demonstration of insight, and a reinforcement of capability. Over time, the accumulation of these actions forms a silent but powerful narrative that communicates intelligence, strategy, and credibility far more effectively than words ever could. Moreover, actions communicate beyond cultural, linguistic, and social barriers. Words can be misunderstood, misinterpreted, or lost in translation, but actions are universally comprehensible. Helping someone in need, completing a challenging task efficiently, showing resilience under pressure, or demonstrating consistency in habits transcends language. Actions become the ultimate proof of intelligence and character because they are observed directly, evaluated objectively, and internalized intuitively. By focusing on what you do rather than what you say, you create a universal language of competence and influence. Actions also teach more than words ever can. Through doing, you learn, adapt, and refine your intelligence in ways that mere talking cannot achieve. Execution exposes gaps, tests theories, and provides feedback that sharpens skill and understanding. Words alone cannot replicate this process. By committing to action, you enter a cycle of learning and mastery that not only demonstrates intelligence externally, but also cultivates it internally. This creates a self-reinforcing dynamic where your actions both reflect and enhance your mental acuity. Furthermore, when you rely on actions instead of words, you cultivate patience and resilience. Waiting to see results before claiming credit requires confidence in your methods, persistence in effort, and endurance in the face of obstacles. Each successful outcome reinforces the principle that intelligence is best communicated through tangible achievement rather than verbal assertion. Challenges and setbacks become opportunities to strengthen your strategy, improve execution, and reinforce the value of measured action over impulsive speech. Ultimately, letting actions reveal your intelligence shifts focus from external validation to internal competence. It teaches you that your worth, influence, and credibility are not determined by how loudly you speak, but by how consistently and effectively you act. By prioritizing results over rhetoric, you create a silent power that commands respect, inspires trust, and demonstrates capability. The world may celebrate noise, but it rewards results. And those who understand this principle can quietly outsmart, outlast, and outperform through deliberate, intelligent action